Have you ever wondered why you wake up exhausted, carry most of the weight around your waist, forget why you walk into a room, have dry eyes, skin that bruises easily, and yet your doctor treats every one of these problems separately? What if they're all connected? What if your body has been sending you the same message for years and nobody has put all the pieces together? I've always been an early riser, a morning person, but a few years ago I started waking up extremely early, like 1 a.m., 2 a.m., sometimes even earlier. Not only was sleep duration being affected, but my energy levels were crashing mid-afternoon. It had started to affect my concentration, and really, it was getting out of hand. After months of searching for answers, I eventually came across something I'd never even heard before. A cortisol awakening response test, commonly abbreviated to CAR, C-A-R. Unlike the standard morning cortisol blood test, which is mainly used to detect serious adrenal diseases, a CAR saliva test measures how your cortisol behaves throughout the day. Mine measured the first hour after waking, then again at midday, afternoon, and evening. The results were an eye-opener, to say the least. While my morning levels were within the normal range, my midday, afternoon, and evening levels were through the roof. This explained why I was waking up in the middle of night and unable to return to sleep. My cortisol levels were consistently elevated, chronically elevated. I started researching the role of cortisol and its effect on the body and found that I had other symptoms related to chronically high levels. The skin on my forearms had started to noticeably thin and tear easily. I'd developed dry eye, a condition where tear production is suppressed or tears evaporate too quickly to fully lubricate the eye. I gained weight, mostly around the belly, and in an accompanying test, I found that I had significant insulin resistance. Not diabetic, but symptomatic of a potential problem awaiting me if I didn't take control of the condition. All of these could be linked to chronically elevated cortisol. Not proof, but there was a definite correlation. Something had to be done. My name's Alan Virtue, and you're watching Chasing Dexter. In the last episode, we discussed the negative effects of chronic stress and the role cortisol plays in this regulation. Contrary to popular belief, cortisol isn't a bad hormone. Without it, we wouldn't wake up in the morning. It regulates blood pressure, blood sugar, inflammation, our immune system. It's essential for life. The problem isn't cortisol itself. The problem begins when our adrenal glands become workaholics, pumping out cortisol long after an emergency has passed. Instead of short bursts, we can spend months or even years running on low-level survival mode. And eventually, the body starts leaving clues, not in one place, but everywhere. As I researched cortisol, one thing became obvious. None of these symptoms existed in isolation. They were all connected. So I built something that helped me see the bigger picture. The stress load chair. Instead of asking one question, it looks across several body systems: sleep, metabolism, thinking, mood, immune function, skin, eyes. Because chronic stress rarely affects just one thing. Now take note that the stress load checker is a tool. It's not a medical test. It can't diagnose elevated cortisol. But it may help you recognize patterns that are surprisingly common in people living with chronic stress. And once you see those patterns, you can't unsee them. As we go through this together, I'd like you to score yourself honestly. Don't overthink it. Simply ask yourself whether each symptom has been true for you over the past month or so. For the example on screen, I'll use some of the symptoms I had initially, but of course, your symptoms may be different. You'll get the idea as we enter some data. So first up, let's look at sleep and energy. Do you wake up in the very early hours of the morning? Do you wake feeling unrefreshed? Do you need a coffee just to become functional? Hit a wall every afternoon? One of the biggest myths about stress is that stressed people are energetic. Most aren't. They're exhausted, but somehow still unable to switch off. That's because elevated cortisol often disrupts our normal day-night rhythm. You become tired but wired. Next, your metabolism. Have you gained weight around the waist? Do you crave sugar when you're under pressure? Does your blood pressure seem higher than it used to be? High cortisol tells your body to make more glucose. It also makes insulin less effective. Over time, That combination encourages fat storage around the abdomen and makes it much harder to lose. Many people blame themselves, but sometimes it's really their hormones fighting back. And how about your brain? Do you forget names, lose words halfway through a sentence, walk into a room and wonder why you went there? Stress doesn't just affect how we feel, it affects how we think. When your brain is constantly scanning for threats, it's much harder to focus on everything else. And then there's mood. Are you always rushing, even when nothing is urgent? Do you find it difficult to relax, even on holidays? Do little things irritate you far more than they used to? That's often not a personality change. It's your nervous system becoming stuck in high alert. What about your body? Do cuts take longer to heal? Do you get headaches, tight shoulders, jaw clenching, bloating, or other digestive problems? Chronic stress suppresses parts of the immune system while keeping inflammation simmering in others. Again, it isn't just one symptom, it's the combination. And then I came across something that really, genuinely surprised me. Skin. Most articles barely mention it, but the science does. High cortisol gradually breaks down collagen. The result? Paper-thin skin, easy bruising, small cuts that seem to take forever to heal. Those changes don't usually happen after one stressful week. They often suggest prolonged exposure. And the same is true for your eyes. Dry, gritty eyes, changes in eye pressure, changes in vision. If those things are happening alongside many of the other symptoms, they're worth discussing with your doctor. Now, this is really important. No single symptom proves anything. Everyone gets tired sometimes. Everyone forgets things. Everyone has stressful weeks. The real signal is when multiple signals begin lighting up together. Sleep, metabolism, brain, mood, skin, eyes. That's why I built the checker this way. Not to diagnose, but to recognize patterns. So what can we do? Well, the encouraging news is that your stress response isn't fixed. It can be retrained. Regular walking, resistance exercise, morning sunshine, good sleep habits, breathing exercises, meditation, connecting with nature, and strong social relationships. Reducing constant exposure to negative news, eating real food. And perhaps most importantly, identifying the source of your stress. Sometimes supplements help, sometimes breathing exercises help. But if your daily life contains an ongoing stressor that never gets addressed, that will usually have the biggest impact. If you'd like to try the stress load checkup for yourself, I've included a link in the description below. It takes less than 2 minutes. It won't diagnose anything, but it may help you recognize patterns worth discussing with your healthcare professional. And I genuinely love to know, how many of those boxes did you tick? Were you surprised by your results? Let me know in the comments. Remember, those symptoms we started with, waking at 2 a.m, belly fat that refuses to budge, brain fog, dry eyes, fragile skin. Individually, they may not mean very much, but together, they might be your body's way of saying, I'm under more stress than I can handle. Listen to it. Don't ignore it. Your body is usually trying to help you, not work against you. Don't forget to like and subscribe. We have much, much more to discover. Until next time, keep chasing Dexter and hopefully a longer, healthier, more active life. Bye for now.